It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. Subscribe today to the California Report, my daily curated list of all the stories that you may have missed in California news at randywangradio.substack.com. We start today with a string of loss after loss after loss in federal court. Pretty much every single case that Bill Essayli, the acting U.S. attorney for the Central District, has brought forth in a case involving the immigration protests have not gone his way. And there could be multiple things true all at the same time, because it can be true that they were overcharging a lot of these cases. They don't really have a lot of evidence to back it up. That is definitely true. At the same time, it is true that the juries are, at this point, not going to do anything positively towards ICE because, well, their reputation is not very good in Los Angeles. So it's just another mess of things that are going on in there. Was it just the other day, apparently, Lizzo got jury duty and it was on some ICE case and she couldn't be fair? It's just, things got elevated to a just insane level. And I don't know how we turn down the temperature in that fight, but it definitely is time to. Now, another big update over the weekend is the fight in Riverside County over the ballots that Chad Bianco, gubernatorial candidate, says there's something screwy going on with that 2025 special election, Prop 50, the one that won in a landslide. A citizens group said there was something funny here, so we need to see those ballots. And then Chad Bianco says, well, this is a great opportunity for me to get a whole bunch of attention, so let's do it. Well, California Supreme Court is now being asked to stop this probe, which, by the way, he's calling a fact-finding mission, which means they don't really have a crime that they're specific about here. In my opinion, this was a desperate attempt to try to drum up a certain base of the electorate that believes all the elections are rigged. And unfortunately for Bianco, it didn't work. Hilton got the Trump endorsement, not Bianco. We'll get to more on that later. Now, here's an interesting story out of Riverside. I got to imagine it's really, really, really scary nowadays if you're into the recreational party drug scene. I mean, it's always been super iffy, and I look back at some of the things I did in my 20s, and I'm very lucky I didn't take something that could put me in the hospital. But nowadays, everything seems to be laced with fentanyl. We have so many stories of kids that are just buying what they think is, black market Xanax, and that's laced with fentanyl, and then they end up in the ER, and sometimes they die. Well, at the very least, whether it's prescription drugs or party drugs, you should be able to tell what is in that pill you're about to swallow. And a UC Riverside professor has developed a test that actually, from the particles, can tell you if your drugs are fake. And I think that's a good thing to have. Also, maybe we got to figure out why people are trying to buy black market Xanax to begin with, because there's a lot of issues going on there all at the same time, including how unbelievably expensive our current prescription system is and why so many people think they need to be on Xanax. But hey, at the very least, people should know that the drugs they're taking, whether they are for medical reasons or party reasons, not that I approve of any of this, but people are going to do what they're going to do. But you should at least know what's in the pill. Once again, we have seen yet another update of copper wire theft, this time taking over Tarzana. And it's the same story every single time. No arrests are made. Nobody seems to even think about going after the businesses that are buying the stolen copper wire. Look, you can look at everything from two ways. Yes, we should be going after the thieves that are ripping this stuff out of the ground, ripping this stuff off the poles. Of course we should. I don't know why that's so difficult. Could it be because the value of this stuff is so low that it doesn't even apply? It's still under the Prop 47 thing? Maybe. Maybe we got to increase the value of how much it costs to replace it. Maybe it needs to be an automatic felony. But at the very same time, the thing that I do not understand about copper wire theft is it is something where you have to sell it to a very specific kind of person, a junker, a recycler, a scrapper, a smelter. And I don't know, maybe there are just a bunch of black market smelters out there. I don't think so, though. I think there are plenty of licensed businesses that they know who they're buying from, because it's very obvious when you're a reputable dealer or not, and you should be some kind of registry, and you should have to have in overregulated California. How is it that you don't need to have some kind of permit or some kind of license to sell copper? Something to think about there. It's this never-ending trend of where if you're on the up and up, the state of California, the city and county of Los Angeles, they'll make life very difficult for you, especially when it comes to following codes and following permits. But when you're an illegal business, whether it be somebody that is smelting copper wire that is stolen, or you're a pot store that doesn't have a license and you're operating illegally, or you're a massage parlor that's offering a little you-know-what on the side. Why is it so difficult for our city attorney to not be able to close these businesses, to take away their licenses, to shut them down, to evict them? I don't understand that. Now, we're continuing our series of We're Living Where now? And a lot of this is finding all the places that the homeless are living that maybe LAHSA didn't count. We've seen the horrific story of the woman living in the sewer drain. We've seen a few of those. People living in the LA River, including somebody that passed away. Well, Juan Naula, who is a straight-up hero, the Clean LA with Me guy, he has once again brought out a news crew, this time Channel 4, to show the people living inside the bridge. They are living inside a bridge pillar. They got a whole bunch of stuff in there. It smells like ash because they're starting fires in there, I guess, to keep warm. And apparently there's an overwhelming smell of urine. So that's fun. Now, I put this final Southern California story in here because it's so obvious, but it is definitely worth addressing. And that is, it is very expensive to live in this state. And there's a lot of people that pick up everything. They leave paradise for other states that don't have as good weather. Because even though we're supposed to have the best job market, there's jobs other places, and the cost of living is so much lower, you don't need to be making six figures to have a decent quality of life. And a new Berkeley study has shown that for the most part of the people they track that leave the state of California, when they move to other states, being Texas or Nevada or Arizona, they become homeowners. Isn't that interesting? Now, onto the Bay Area. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, this is a stupid idea. It is a waste of money. And I really hope it does not get any funding in Congress. And that is the stupid idea to reopen Alcatraz as a federal prison. Alcatraz closed over 60 years ago because it's too expensive to operate because it's a prison on an island. It has since turned into a national park and a historical monument and one of San Francisco's top tourist attractions, which I don't totally get. I mean, it's just not in my wheelhouse. There are a lot of things I like to do in San Francisco. Alcatraz is not one of them, but people really like it. And it's a revenue generator for the country. So in some kind of macho bravado, we need to have a super scary prison, we need to reopen Alcatraz. Stupid, right off the bat. The administration in their budget saying they need $150 million in the first year just to start revitalizing it. Stupid. And you know what? It's okay to admit that it's stupid. You can't, there is no point in being so hardcore partisan on either side that you cannot call out nonsense when you see it. And spending $152 million to reopen Alcatraz is a stupid, stupid idea. Now, we told you last week about the homeless man picked up in San Leandro because he was making people feel uncomfortable. He wasn't arrested. He wasn't cuffed. He didn't do anything, but he still got dumped in San Leandro. He got dumped in Oakland, 7 miles away from where he was in San Leandro. Well, the Oakland chapter of the NAACP, including Brenda Harbin-Forte, who was instrumental in the recall of Pamela Price and Shang Tao, has spoken out. She didn't think that's cool. And a whole bunch of other activists are looking at this and like, we need to figure out what the hell is going on with the San Leandro Police Department, including recalled District Attorney Pamela Price, who is now using this to her to get a little attention.
She's too soft on crime.
So that's what's going on there. Let's stay in Oakland for a story that's just so silly. You remember that whole fight last year or the year before where Oakland said, hey, we're not seeing a whole lot of traffic to this airport. And instead of realizing that that had to do a lot with the perception of Oakland or the rental cars getting broken into at the gas station outside of the airport or all of the crime issues, they decided it was branding. They decided it was that was called the Oakland Airport. And people didn't understand that Oakland is part of the San Francisco Bay. So they changed their name to the San Francisco Bay Oakland International Airport. It totally rolls off the tongue, right? Well, they got in a big legal fight with San Francisco International Airport, which, funnily enough, is not actually in the city of San Francisco. But SFO's like, you can't call yourself San Francisco. We're San Francisco. So this fight lasted for about a year before Oakland finally said, okay, how about we call it the Oakland San Francisco Bay Airport? And again, this was all because people weren't going to that airport. Well, after 2 name changes, airport traffic is still down at that airport, and it could just be that SFO has more direct flights going to more places, but the name change was never the problem at Oakland International Airport or San Francisco Bay Oakland Airport or Oakland San Francisco Bay Airport. Here is a story that part of it sounds good, part of it does not. In San Francisco, in the Soma neighborhood, we are seeing a surge of tents. We're seeing a surge of homelessness at the same time that the rest of the city is seeing a big decline in tents. It is minuscule compared to Los Angeles. And homelessness is going down in pretty much every neighborhood except for the bad neighborhoods, the Tenderloin, Soma, and the Mission. And now you have residents of Soma who are claiming that this is against the law, that it is unfair to have this hyper concentration of poverty, because it's not only are they pushing the people there, but all the homeless services are in Soma and the Tenderloin. And really, the entire city should have to feel the brunt of this crisis themselves, which, if you live in West San Francisco, you're probably saying, hell to the no. Don't take the outer Sunset, don't take the Richmond and turn it into Soma. And ultimately, what would you rather have? Would you rather have an entire city that all feels this problem at the same time, or 1 or 2 neighborhoods that you know you're not supposed to go to? There really isn't a good answer either way. Well, we've been telling you for quite some time about Caltrain and BART and Muni and all these Bay Area transit services that say they are going to see station closures and reductions in service if they don't get this sales tax increase in November. Caltrain now being the latest one, saying they would close weekend service. They would have to reduce the trains to once an hour. They would close at 9 o'clock. And this is despite the fact that Caltrain, since they electrified that line, has seen a 50% increase in ridership. So at what point, I just wonder if it's true that you cannot fund these things on fare alone. And of course, we can't figure out ways to allocate within the budgets that we already have. We need another. I just don't like this idea of we have to have a specific sales tax for every single thing that we can't just fund. We need to have a sales tax increase for the fire department. I support the firefighters. I do not support that tax. Have to have a special increase for fixing the streetlights. It's not the answer to everything. These states, these cities, these counties, and these transit agencies have got to figure out how to live within their means. And if reduction in service is the only way to do it, maybe that's what you got to do. Maybe you got to look at your labor contracts. We had Deborah Allen, former BART director, and she said, look at how much money we're spending on complete nonsense. All these organizations bloated their budgets when they got bailed out by the Biden administration and the first Trump administration. Let's not forget the CARES Act, as much as we want to talk about the American Rescue Plan. And this was supposed to be one-time spending that ended up turning into ongoing commitments because they thought, okay, we're just going to keep getting bailed out. We have all got to learn to live within our means. And in Marin County, a school district is now one of the next ones to figure out a plan to restrict cell phone usage in schools. And I'm totally for this. We have now had enough evidence where we're seeing this in different districts, and you're seeing that kids can actually pay attention because they don't have the phone constantly harassing them with notifications about somebody that liked this and somebody that liked that. And when you have a strict policy like this and the teachers don't have to be phone police, it's just something that I can totally see why it's going everywhere. Now, in Sacramento, Ashley Zavala does a great job hosting California Politics 360, which you can see on KCRA 3, KTVU, Fox 2 in the Bay, and Fox 11 in Los Angeles on Sunday mornings. And she had a couple of great interviews, including one with Steve Hilton, which a whole 30-minute video I have up on the California Report. But she also talked to Assemblywoman Maggie Krell, who used to be a prosecutor, and she was the one who led the push to make it a felony to purchase a child for the purposes of sex. Somehow that wasn't already a felony. It was for a 15, but not a 16 and a 17, which is bizarre. And she's sitting down with Ashley Zavala to talk about California, which, again, gets this reputation for being super overregulated, destroying industries before they can thrive, except when it comes to emerging technology. And one of the things that's kind of bizarre, and this is going on throughout the entire country, but it's definitely going on here, is, it's not legal to bet on sports in California. Fantasy is kind of a whole other thing. Bonta's got his crusade against blackjack at the card rooms. But at the same time, what are you seeing all over the place? You're seeing ads for and news stories talking about these predictive markets, Polymarket, these websites, Kalshi, where you can kind of bet on the outcome of anything, including like things that happen in a war. It's incredibly tasteless, but how is any of that allowed? And it's another proof point of technology moves way faster than anyone can regulate this. But I think it's time to look at this. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and way too much thought is being put into what these things mean. I'm sure there has been some insider trading with these predictive markets, especially with the war in Iran. Is anyone close to that situation that knows what's about to happen? Well, they can go put some money on that, and it's a bizarre thing that's going on. As much as people say we're overregulated in a lot of things, this is an industry that should completely be regulated because it's super unethical. And the fact that people are betting on the governor's race, it's weird. Stockton has a little fight going on where some residents think they have too many fast food joints and some residents think they don't have enough fast food joints, but they just approved 2 new drive-thrus because I guess they don't have enough fast food joints. But hey, if people are going to go to them, great. If they're not, they'll close. I'm seeing a whole lot of fast food places not nearly as busy as they used to be because, one, I'm not going there because I've been on a diet plan for the past 9 months. But also, fast food got really expensive. There's a lot more in today's California Report, so check it out at randywangradio.substack.com. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We are continuing to cover the LA mayor's race, and one of those candidates, his name is Adam Miller, will join us next. His website is votemiller.com. We're going to find out what he's about, what he thinks about Karen Bass, and why he's running for mayor. So stick with us. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. Make sure to subscribe to the California Report, my daily curated list of local news stories at randywangradio.substack.com. Our next guest is running for mayor of Los Angeles. His website is votemiller.com. Adam Miller, welcome to the News Blitz.
Randy, thank you for having me.
Adam, let's go ahead and start off. Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience if people don't know you, they haven't heard of you before. Tell us who you are and why you want to run for LA mayor.
Sure. I'm Adam Miller. I'm a little bit different than the other candidates out there because not only am I an outsider, I've been running companies and nonprofits for the last 35 years and have had a significant track record of success. I built the largest education company in the world, the nation's top veteran service organization, LA's most effective homelessness prevention program, and one of the most effective workforce development programs in South and East LA. So I have a long track record of experience building things, solving problems. And as you know, this city is broken. We have a lot of issues, and we need somebody who can fix them. And that's where I come in.
Let's start on homelessness because you have some background with that, with Better Angels. But Karen Bass ran as homelessness being her number one issue. She declared a state of emergency on day one. She got the city to go all in with her signature program, Project Inside Safe. We just saw a report from the LA Times over weekend showing that 40% of the people in that program went right back to the streets, even though we spent hundreds of millions of dollars. What do you think are the failings of that program, and what would you do differently when it comes to getting the homeless off the streets?
Well, Inside Safe has clearly failed, both with regard to keeping people off the street. You have a revolving door with Inside Safe. People are briefly off the street and then right back on the street again. It also is extraordinarily expensive. We are spending upwards of $85,000 a motel room a year, which is just insanity. So we could do so much better. I don't just talk about this stuff, I've done it. So Better Angels was started by my wife and I after I sold Cornerstone, my education company, with a focus on trying to end the epidemic of homelessness in LA. So we spent about a year and a half of research starting in 2021. And then in late 2023, started the organization to address homelessness holistically. We realize there's no silver bullet here. You have to solve the problem holistically. And Better Angels is focused on 5 pillars: prevention, services, shelter, technology, and housing. And you have to address all of those issues. So number one, we absolutely must be allocating more dollars to prevention. It is by far the most efficient way to clean up our streets and to prevent new people from falling into homelessness. We have an extremely effective eviction prevention program at Better Angels, and we've kept thousands of Angelenos off the street who were at imminent risk of eviction. They had already received eviction notices. They were already vulnerable. They already had a financial shock, and with our help, they stayed housed. We also can do a much better job servicing people who are already on the street. We have an insane number of people living on the street. I was actually on Skid Row again today, and it's devastating. We have 8,000 people living on the street downtown. We have 44,000 unhoused individuals. We can do better. We need to have more effective and efficient service delivery. We have to have a better path of people getting off the street into interim housing. And we need more affordable housing to drive the pathway from the street to shelter to permanent housing. And all of that is feasible without spending nearly as much as we're doing today.
You know, and you were just down there, so you've seen it for yourself. For as much as the city, the county, and the state want to tout reductions in homelessness, when you look at the place where it's most visible, Skid Row, not only do the people there not see any kind of reduction or any kind of improvement, but it's really kind of a stretch to wonder where all the money that we spend on this is going if the people that are suffering in the place where it's most visible don't see any of it.
Well, look, in LA County, we spent $10 billion in the last decade. We can't account for somewhere between $1 and $2 billion of those $10 billion. And the problem has gotten dramatically worse over that period of time. So, yes, there has been a modest reduction in the number of people that are unhoused based on the once a year homeless count that we do. But 6 people are dying a day, and you could actually very cynically attribute that reduction to death and not improvement. So this is not something we should be celebrating. We have failed at homelessness, and we could do much, much better.
We're speaking with Adam Miller. He's running for LA mayor. You can check out his website and his platform at votemiller.com. Well, we got through homelessness. One of the other issues that everybody thinks about every single day in a city like Los Angeles is the cost of living here. It is so expensive to live and work in Los Angeles. It's part of why so many people that work in Los Angeles have to live far away because it is just so expensive. That clogs up the roads as well. What does a Mayor Miller do about making it cheaper to live and work in Los Angeles?
Well, Randy, the reason LA is so unaffordable is because of the cost of rent and housing. We simply do not have enough housing in this city. The demand is relatively fixed, but we are majorly supply constrained, and that results in higher prices. It's no different than if the Dodgers have a big game coming up, the ticket prices go up, right? If there's a big concert coming, the ticket prices go up. There's more demand than there is supply of tickets. The same thing is true with housing. If you have the demand, but you don't have the supply, the prices are going to be high. And that's exactly what's happened in this city. We have failed at building enough housing. We are lower in new housing starts than we've been in a decade. New housing permits are down 30% since 2019, and we are going completely in the wrong direction. LA has become considered one of the hardest places in the country to build. National developers have stopped building in Los Angeles. Even local developers, some of the most prolific LA developers, are no longer building in the city of Los Angeles. We've made it too hard. We've made it a place where real estate developers are treated like the enemy. And we, as a result, have extremely high pricing when it comes to housing, whether you're renting or you're owning. And that can be fixed. And the way you fix that is you make LA a place where everybody wants to build. It's already a place that people want to live. That's why we have the demand. We have to also make it a place where people want to build. And the way you do that is you have to make it easier to get permitted, faster to get entitled. You have to be more predictable in the inspections. We have to be more accommodating, and we can do a lot around financing to make it easier for people to build in LA. And I'm not just talking about affordable housing. I mean all kinds of housing, affordable housing, workforce housing, and market rate housing. We need all of it, and we need it in much higher quantities than we have today. We are building today only 10% of what we're supposed to be building based on regional needs housing assessment, which means we are 90% off from where we need to be to have lower costs of housing and enough supply to feed the demand.
We're speaking with Adam Miller. The website is votemiller.com. He is running for LA mayor. Now, if we start moving in that direction and we start building and building and building, that means that you're also going to see our already horrific traffic situation possibly getting even worse. And all of the fixes that we have, if you're mayor of LA, you're also in the LA Metro Board, seem to be solutions that take way too long before they help anybody. You look at the big celebration just a couple weeks ago of the vote to extend the K line to West Hollywood. That all sounds great, and maybe someday that will take cars off the road, but that project won't even break ground until 2041. So what are some realistic things?
2047.
So what are some realistic things?
It's way too slow.
What are some realistic things that we could do? Because it feels like, as awful as the traffic is here, nobody's talking about any plans to relieve ourselves of it. What would you do about the just god-awful traffic that we experience every day in LA?
Yeah, I hate the traffic as much as everyone else. And I could tell you, running for mayor and having to be all over this amazing city, there's traffic everywhere. So we absolutely need to fix it. I want to clarify one thing, though. Having more housing doesn't mean more traffic. We already have the demand. We already have the people living here. The reason rent is so high, part of the reason we have so many people on the street, so many people living crammed together, is because there's not enough housing units. So we're not necessarily talking about more people. We're talking about more places for those people to live. And that's going to bring down pricing. Look, we need to finish the trend projects that we have, because until we finish them, we're not getting the benefit of the work we've done with Metro. And we need somebody that knows how to operate to get that done. Look at the people mover at the airport. That project is $880 million over budget. I've been told it's well north of $1 billion over budget. 880 is what we've been billed, but not what we're going to owe. And it's 3 years overdue. And it's not going to be done next week. There's still a lot of work to be done. So we're talking about projects that are taking way too long, that are way over budget, and not managed effectively. So number one, we got to fix that. We have to do a better job of operating. And I know how to operate. I know how to manage budgets. I ran a public company. I know how to get things done. Number two, we should be using technology to streamline some of our traffic issues. Why don't we have synchronized lights on our primary surface streets? Something we could put into place. Why don't we enforce fines when people are blocking intersections, right? What other cities do, they call it blocking the box. Why don't we make sure we're leveraging other forms of public transit that are faster to implement, like busing, to be more effective at moving people? We can do a much better job managing the flow of traffic and getting people moving in this city.
We're speaking with Adam Miller. The website is votemiller.com. We get just time for one more question. We're about to be inviting the world here with the World Cup, the Olympics in a couple of years. But one thing that tourists will notice is that this city is notoriously filthy. Illegal dumping has become an unbelievably huge problem, to the point where you have volunteers out there like Juan Nala with Clean LA with Me embarrassing the city on a daily basis because he's picking up the trash that people report on 311 and nothing happens. So how do you literally clean up this city?
Like you said it, the city has gotten disgusting. There's trash everywhere. And this is not one side or another of the city. It's really pervasive. And add to that broken streets, broken street lights, and broken sidewalks. And we are not managing our infrastructure. This is fundamental to how a city government runs and we're simply not doing it. And it's not being done by the mayor, and it's not going to be fixed by somebody that's been on city council for 5 years. It needs to be somebody that knows how to operate and get things done. And let me tell you something, with the Olympics coming, we have two choices before us. We can hide our problems or we can fix them. And I'm going to fix them.
The website is votemiller.com. That's votemiller.com if you want to learn more. Adam Miller, thank you so much for spending some time with us today, and hopefully we can do it again real soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Randy.
It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. There's going to be a lot of things on the ballot this year, and here's one I can support. They're collecting signatures to repeal the parking fees at Balboa Park. Take that, Todd Gloria. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. My thanks to Adam Miller for coming on the show. You may not have heard of him before, but he's got some pretty common sense ideas. He's definitely not going to be as outspoken against Karen Bass as a Spencer Pratt, but it's an interesting thing. Speaking of Spencer Pratt, and I'm sure we'll get into this tomorrow, this hit piece from the LA Times claiming that Spencer Pratt currently lives in Santa Barbara County is only going to remind people that Spencer Pratt's house was burned down in the Palisades thanks to the incompetence of Karen Bass and the city and county of Los Angeles. So, I'm not sure who thought that was a great piece in the LA Times, but it was pretty ridiculous. Now, when it comes to the box office numbers, this one's no surprise. The Super Mario Galaxy movie grossed $131 million over the weekend to a total gross domestically of $190 million. I think worldwide it's at like $375 million. And this is probably going to be like the first Mario movie where people are going to be taking their kids to go back and go back and go back. Because if you've ever had small children in your life, you know that kids like to watch the same thing over and over and over and over again. And it's, an hour and a half, 2 hours where you can just sit in the dark and not have to worry about the fact that they don't eat anything but peanut butter and jelly. These are the small things that I know about child rearing as being an uncle. Now, below Super Mario Galaxy movie, Project Hail Mary in second, The Drama in third, Hoppers in fourth, Reminders of Him in fifth, A Great Awakening in sixth, They Will Kill You in seventh, Ready or Not 2, Here I Come in eighth place, Durandar, The Revenge on ninth place, and 10th place is Undertone. That is your box office report for the weekend. Thank you all so much for being a part of this show. Got any guests to suggest for us? Email us at randywangradio@gmail.com.